This is a 1954 Western Electric 354. The Western Electric 354 was a direct companion to the Western Electric 302, though the Western Electric 354 was not introduced the same year as the 302 was introduced. The 354 was introduced in 1946, and only the 354 was made with a thermoplastic body, the T-Night housing. They were never made with the metal housing as the 302s were, because these were made after the war. So first introduced in 1946, and they stopped production in the mid-1950s when the Western Electric 554 was introduced. So the 354 was known as the first modern wall telephone to be introduced to the public and for other private systems as such. So I got this one about a month ago, actually more 2 months ago. Very good price at an antique shop locally, and it needed some work. It was quite dirty. It was very, very rough shape. All the parts in here are from 1954, with the exception of the handset cord, which is a handset cord made for a 500 series telephone. But what I did here is I adjusted it. I got rid of the restraint because it wouldn't fit all the way. So now it's kind of more adaptive to the F1 handset here. Handset's in good shape. I did have some problems here with the cap here, because it was almost stuck on there, and part of it in the handset where the threads are, there's a crack in there, so it was making it difficult to remove it. And given how shiny it is, I'm not sure if it's Bakelite. I'm pretty sure it might be a thermoplastic, because it's very, very shiny. It's not grainy looking as the rest of the handset looks. So that could be due to shrinkage. And this phone is suffering quite a bit of shrinkage, especially in the housing. It's very, very tight on the base, and you can kind of tell. Let me show you, give you a closer look. There's no markings on the back, but I'll show you how much this is shrunk. So you can see this edge here. The housing is supposed to come over this, and you can see how much it's shrunk down, and you can see that raised spot right in the middle. It's very barely noticeable, but that's where the screw is mounted and where it's pulled down as it had shrunk over the years. So I'm thinking this phone was in maybe a very, very humid environment. I'm not sure, but humidity is one of the #1 causes for the shrinkage in a thermoplastic housing. So I'm thinking later on I might shave down the corners a bit to prevent cracking. I'll have to get something for it to do that. I don't have any tools for that yet, so I'll have to find that later. This phone has a 6A dial. Now, a 6A dial, you can't really tell by the on the outside. Only one difference is that the 6A dial is the let me bring it over again. It's what do you call it? You call it the finger stop. And notice how it's kind of curved down a bit. These 6A dials were used for switchboards. Don't ask me why these phones, or this phone, is equipped with a 6A dial, but that's what it has. It works fine with it, but I don't know why it has a 6A dial and why it wouldn't have just a regular number 6, I think it's 6D dial. But it works just fine, you know, it dials out fine. You know, I've oiled it. The phone, the dial was pretty seized when I got it. It was desperate need of oiling and an overhaul. And it was missing the dial center as well, so I found one of these. It's a little bit rough shape. You can see the paint coming off. And I also printed off a number card for it. I actually printed this off of ivory colored paper to make it look aged a bit. So this phone is a really, really neat design, especially with these vents here. It's a very Art Deco. These phones came in two colors. You had your black thermoplastic, and you also had ivory. And these, depending on, I'm guessing depending on what year it was made, maybe the earlier ones, I'm not sure, but they had a chrome switch hook, and this one is the painted black one. So that would be kind of cool to see if I can find one of those eventually. So yeah, all the parts are 1954 with the exception of the handset cord. Handset's even 1954. I'll show you the bell system made by Western Electric. And I gave this, it took a bit of oil, elbow grease to get it at least somewhat glossy. But once that glossy finish is worn off, it's kind of no turning back with it. And I'll show you a bit of the shrinkage again because, you know, not only do you see it on the top here, you can see the gap. You can almost see how much it shrunk. But you can kind of even see it on the side here. You can kind of see it's kind of, I don't know how you would say, it's kind of bowing out a bit. You can see that gap. So yeah, so we got to be careful with it. There were screens in here behind these vents, but they were so brittle that I couldn't even put them back in. I don't know what happened with them, but they did not work. They did not stay together when I took them off to clean this housing. So yeah, it's a very, very nice 354. It's actually my first one in the collection. For all the years I've been collecting, I hadn't been able to find one. There was one time I was in an antique shop in Culpeper, Virginia, where they had one for sale there, but I didn't end up buying it. My mom was with me, and she discouraged me, and I realized it would have been I guess the best decision. But I'm glad to have found one finally. You know, it wasn't really on my radar, but it was good to be able to have one. So what we'll do next is we will do the demonstration of the phone. So I'll be right back, and I will get the machine. And now let me go ahead and pick up the handset, as I already have the telephone plugged into the machine. So give you some dialing tone. If you can hear it, I'm putting on both microphones here, so you might be able to hear on either side. So you can see on the bottom left hand of your screen, as I speak into the handset, you can see the change in the light. It's showing that it's working just fine. The transmitter is at 100%. So now what I'll do is I'll dial a few numbers for you. Alright, and then finally, I will ring the telephone for you all. And just so you know about the ringer, I forgot to mention, is it has one brass bell and one steel bell. So that's why you heard one bell ring longer than the other. So at some point they probably had replaced the bell at some point, or that's what they had in their inventory of bells or whatever material they had, but that's what it has in this telephone. So thank you very much for watching. Pictures are coming.